Morning. It's a real live feed on Rashad's YouTube channel, February 24th, 2026. Someone in Mount Book time. This is chapter 81. The Golden Rule. So in everything you do to others what you have been and do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Do to others what you have them do to you. This is the Golden Rule. This verse known as the Golden Rule is without doubt one of the best known verses of Jesus' teaching. If everybody lived this way, we would have the perfect world. But we don't live this way. So yet you and I are commanded to do so. Golden Rule is the bottom line of Jesus' teaching on the kingdom of heaven. And yet it may be a little hard to understand why Jesus' words were put to precisely in here, the Sermon on the Mount. The Greek word "ulf" therefore suggests that the command to live this way follows what Jesus had just said. So to do to others as you have and do to you. There are three possibilities. Therefore, what has Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 through 11 that will lead to this therefore? There are at least three possibilities. The first is that our Heavenly Father loves us much more than our earthly parents do, and will therefore grant good gifts indeed to us. We should do precisely this for others, including being merciful. Second, Jesus had been telling us not to judge in this section preceding these verses on prayer. Therefore, then, could apply to refuse to judge. It's not pointing the finger will be doing to others as we wish they would do to us. But third, is not unlikely that Matthew chapter 7, verse 12, Jesus' own conclusion of the whole of his teaching about being merciful, being the salt of the earth. All he has taught regarding the law, how we ought to fulfill it. If so, Matthew chapter 7, verse 12 had begun a new paragraph, rather than making it a part of Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 to 11. Opposite of self-love. What we have in this verse is the self-love principle put in reverse. It is when selfish love will become absolutely unselfish. Impose opposite of self-love. You already know full well what you want for yourselves, yet you have hope. You hope that the other person might do it for you. It says Jesus, you do it for him or her instead. You should do it without waiting for him or her to do it and get it right. It means you just take the initiative. All you do is begin with yourself. Since you know what you want, you gotta love our neighbor as we love ourselves. We by nature love ourselves. No one has ever hated, but feeds and cares for it. And let you do what you will have done. Do to you. As we will see further below, carrying this out may also be your response to what they have first said to you. Therefore, it can mean becoming vulnerable when you show no defensiveness. It can mean turning the other cheek. So Luke's account of the Golden Rule is in the context of loving our enemies. We good to those who hate us, praying for those who mistreat us. In Luke's account, Jesus added, merciful just as your Father is merciful. We recall that Jesus promised to fulfill the law, which meant he would live this way himself, which he did. The body, but Jesus lived this way every day of his life. Yet is the way you and I are instructed to live. About genuineness. You must be genuine. We want them to be genuine. This means we hope that we will be true, that they will be true, unfeigned, not hypocritical. We want to be able to trust them. They should go through the three phases: lyrical, disillusionment, and reality. It takes a little time to find out what the other person is like. Most people do not want to end up on the pedestal you put them on. To be good if not get to give up your faith. You person thought that person was. We want this trust in us whether we buy them for them, let's to them invest time, money, or energy with them. We all want to believe in what is absolutely true, genuine, real, reliable. We want that in others. Let us be that way ourselves, whether or not they are that. We want others to be gentle, that they will be pleasant, easy, not severe, not strict, not listic. Therefore, one thing be approachable. We all fear rejection in almost anything. We will never go where we fear we will be rejected. It is all an awful feeling to be rejected or feel rejected. That kind of cuts off. Jesus puts us off. The small person puts us off. The person who wants to create all and seek puts us off. Jesus was the most unpretentious person that ever was. Is in a essential senses the essence of his glory. He was transparently unpretentious. He made himself nothing. He was meek. He was lowly in heart. Accepted the underdog. Whereas the devil hits people when they're down. A bruised reed he would not break. They said of Jesus. For your bruised reed, he's called for you. Just as you are. It was not only his words, his spirit that enticed the most ungodly person to flee to him. He took people as they were. First person to approach Jesus after the conclusion of the Sermon on the Mount was like who knew in his heart that through, though rejected by others, he would not be rejected by Jesus, and he was not rejected by but accepted. Jesus was popular with sinners. He knew they could trust him. I want to be Jesus to everybody, never to let them down. Can people approach you? People find you unapproachable? You want people to be approachable, gentle. He said that all to us to be gentle. Let your gentleness be evidence for all. You got graciousness. Graciousness graciousness is the one to look at them and pay them that represented because you have found them. Remember every fault, then feel guilty. You feel punishment, making them suffer, keeping a record of wrongs. But love keeps no record of wrongs. Why do we keep records? To prove we paid. So when you say to someone who made an inappropriate comment, or remember that, throw it up later. But surely you kept a record of that wrong. But love will care of that record. Do you have good goods on somebody? Do you have the power to spill the beans on him or her? Do you have a record of wrongs that would hurt, embarrass, and ruin this person? Set that up. Look at do it now. And you will be set free. It's letting him or her save face. This way you will win a friend for life. You will, but this person is already aware of. He or she already feels guilty. He or she is already conscious of that skeleton in the closet. It's this is overlooking their fault. He who covers an offense promotes love. Man's wisdom gives him patience. It is glory to overlook an offense. It is the glory of God to conceal matter. He graces in private, set the person at ease. He graces in public, not telling the wrong he or she did. Be telling nobody. You must be gracious in prayer, praying that he or she will be dealt with by God as you want God to deal with you. It is never wrong to be gracious. Never wrong to be gracious. It's never wrong to be gracious. And we got goodness. You want people to be called to be good. God uses to apply his righteousness by the golden rule. You should not murder was applied by Jesus to the heart. If we follow through with Jesus and the interpretation, we will not hate. Fear us. Speak evil of anybody or gossip. Do you like it? Because it gossips about you? Of course not. Eternal's goodness do not gossip about anybody. Those who gossip of you, gossip of you. Look, commit adultery as part of Jesus and lusting causing on the lust in your heart. You want people to be good. This is why he says the golden rule sums up the law, the prophets. Commandments: do not commit adultery, do not commit, not steal, do not covet, whatever other commandments there may be summed up in this golden rule. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love does not do harm to his neighbor. Love is the fulfillment of the law. Next, gratitude. God hates ingratitude. Gratitude must be taught. But those people who have not been taught to show thankfulness will still notice it when isn't grateful to them. If you do not show appreciation for what they did for you, they make note of you from that day forward. You all want to be appreciated and told that you are appreciated. You may say to the person who says thank you, don't mention it. But woe unto the person if he or she doesn't mention it. Always want to show sincere gratitude and watch their responses. You make them feel good. Say thank you to your parents for what they have done for you. Stuff like that. I want, we have received written authorization to live this way. We should do it equitably and passively. This means richness is responsibility. He's not learning when you take the initiative. God is always for the underdog. Underdog is in an inferior position. He has been discriminated against, avoided by people of failure. He has low self-esteem and has been rejected by society. Does not add the educational opportunities of others. Not to live by the golden rules shows our sin and selfishness. Doing this carries out the bottom line of the sun on the mouth. The guarantee is a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, run over, will be poured into your bosom and see your lap. With the measure you use, will be measured to you. God did not have to empower us with blessing, so it's because we carry out our duty, what he does. So I'll be talking about the narrow way, Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14, into the narrow gate. For wide is the gate, broad is the road that leads to destruction, and you enter through it, for small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life. Only a few find it. Hello for whoever's checking out on the live chat. I thought I turned that off. But I'm gonna get to some book that I've been reading for a long time, George Preston. Washer was on deck for the 7th read, nothing book between the Bears and the Redskins. And those grades, Massacre. George Preston Marshall. George Preston Marshall was football to George Preston Marshall was always just a form of show business. If he put on a show, people would come. In 1937, 1945, the Washington Redskins put on a good show, very good show. They're about quarterback slinging ball. The Redskins were one of the fiercest and most successful teams in the NFL. The Redskins won their first championship in 1937, surprised the Chicago Bears for their second in 1941. Washington also competed for the title in the famous 1940 loss, 1942 and 1945. Marshall owned the Redskins from 1932 to 1969. That was the heyday of his tenure that spanned through that mid 1930s to mid 1940s period when Ball was at the helm of the offense. During that stretch, Washington and Chicago was essentially the league powerhouses, with another team sneaking into the title game here and there. 1932, Bears owner George Halas lobbied NFL owners to change the rules, open up the game in order for the passing game to flourish. Marshall was later given considerable credit for being on the right side of the issues, but he voted in favor of game because he thought football would draw more fans. The rules changed allowed quarterbacks to run around the line of scrimmage before throwing a pass. It was a rare occasion when Marshall and Halas were in agreement on something. Also, this holiday agreed to cats and dog scraps. You with one another. And the Halas took advantage of Halas' bad mouth before they put the 73 nothing thrashing. Marshall insulted Halas for being in uniform in his 40s during World War II. Marshall was a dictator by nature. But he also offended a selection of religious and ethnic groups as well. He was always careless with his words. This is all about again George Marshall, Preston Marshall, about him being the owner of Redskins and the front office guy we had to deal with. His Redskins teams would never again be serious players in the NFL under his ownership. Nor did a man who had no governor on the transmission of his thoughts realize he would become a lightning rod for the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. While from a distance, many viewed him as a curmudgeon. Marshall prided himself on being well dressed, cultured, and a gentleman. He loved his own in the spotlight. He hobnobbed with political leaders, society folk, and the nation's capital and was comfortable with whatever old boys network ran football. Bowman's baseball team owners may have been even more conservative, yet Brooklyn Dodgers branch Rickey would work his way on their racial intolerance and hired Jackie Robinson to play ball and become the first African American Major League Baseball player in the 20th century. Bill Veeck joined him by inking Larry Doby for the Cleveland Indians. A few months later, soon several times understand that the barriers were down and that they had a whole new talent pool to choose from again, signing African Americans. It took more than a decade for every team to integrate. Robinson broke in at the start of the 1947 season. The Boston Red Sox was last to integrate with Pumpsie Green in 1959. Some African American players competed in the early days of the NFL in the 20s, 1920s, but during the Depression, like of sorts, took effect. Some using the excuse that black men did not deserve the jobs white men could get. Marshall was new to the league in 1932 and stridently campaigned against employing African American players. This ugly boycott period began fading away in 1946. The Cleveland Rams moved to Los Angeles, so to play their home games in Los Angeles Coliseum, and sports writers pointed out to the stadium commissioner that the Coliseum is publicly owned and it will be a violation of federal law to discriminate in the use of a public facility. The new Rams signed former UCLA stars Kenny Washington and Willie Strode. So that's after the end of World War II, a new pro football league sprung up to challenge the NFL. The All-America Football Conference signed numerous black players. Notably, the Cleveland Browns, the most dominant team of that era. This changed to African American stars like Marion Motley and Bill Willis, both men, eventually led to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Inroads were slow, but steady until all NFL teams in 1960, the new American Football League were populated with African American stars. That is, all teams except the Washington Redskins. Marshall did not draft African Americans and did not sign African American free agents. Gradually, the Redskins slipped into mediocrity. Theirs was once a definitive era fighting it out with the Bears but the rest of the league had passed him by. He wanted the government to put pressure on the hometown Redskins to sign African American players. Bobby Mitchell was born in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and became a star at the University of Illinois when he came out of the college. Halfback formed what may have been the greatest running back duo in history with Cleveland Browns' Jimmy Brown. Mitchell was already All-Pro, and the Browns traded him to the Redskins in 1961, so Cleveland could draft Heisman Trophy winner Ernie Davis, but Davis died of leukemia without playing it down in the pros. Mitchell produced a Hall of Fame career as a skilled runner and dazzling pass catcher. From 1969 to 2003, he continued to work for the Redskins off the field. Marsh did not deserve the break he got in swapping the draft. Picked Davis for the superstar Mitchell. He wiggled out of his predicament and the program on both count of African Americans on the Redskins roster. And that's it. I'm just going to keep moving. Hold this thing out. He on the team for 37 years. Sports writers in 1963 voted, was taken to choose the best football team in NFL history. The team voted as the winner was the 1940 Bears, and some writers thought that the electric was influenced by the 73-9 score. Results annoyed Marshall. In 1963, the Pro Football Hall of Fame opened in Canton, Ohio on September 7th, inducted its first class of members. The inaugural class consists of 17 individuals. Marshall was one of them. One of those other 17 was George Halas. And joining him was Marshall's greatest star, Sammy Baugh. That's it, man. I'm done. Passed away in 1969, 72 years old. He was born in 1896. He was a stalwart builder of the NFL, George Preston Marshall. Definitely was. Yes, that's it, man. I'm done. I'll be talking about George Halas tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Be back tomorrow. Talk about George Halas and the Narrow Way. Chapter 82, the Narrow Way. Until then, talk to you.